Hi, everybody. I want to share with you this Models of Professional Learning tool that we are putting together for you this week. And we're really hoping that this becomes kind of a workflow tool that will help you to start to identify what forms of professional learning you're offering, what's the most efficient format for that based on the outcomes you're trying to achieve, and also what are some strategies that you might utilize. So this work is specifically, I picked it up in some reading from Guskey and research that he had pulled together, but it talks specifically about different types of professional learning formats that are out there. And while it's certainly probably not all inclusive, it does a nice job of giving me a high level overview of what those items might be. So we have training, right? Typical workshop, seminar type training where you're trying to teach a skill or whatever. That's a format of professional learning. We can do observation, where a colleague is observed by their other colleagues and then given specific feedback. We can do some sort of a SAIL work almost, where a group of educators come together and we work collaboratively to solve a specific problem or review some sort of relevant research on an area. Similar to that is study groups, except for it's expanded to a whole building where everybody in the building is broken into small groups and we're exploring the research or we're exploring some issue and trying to find challenges and solutions. Then there's the inquiry action research idea, where somebody's identifying a problem they want to take on, and then they're coming up with a structured method for how they're going to measure an impact based upon something that they have done or changed. And then finally, there's those individual guided activities, and this is really self-paced professional learning, where the individual is determining what they need and how they're going to show that they've met those goals. So kind of a PPG type work. And then of course there's mentoring. We're not so much talking about mentoring, but where another person would, with experience, would pair with somebody who's newer or less experienced. So the other half of that, the next part on the workflow is, okay, so those are the different formats that are out there, and it's really more for you to think about. What I like about this middle section here is I determine a desired outcome. So for instance, let's say I really want to increase the knowledge for my staff around some particular piece. So I find the desired outcome on the list here, increasing knowledge of content or subject matter. That's what I want to do. And then each of these columns represents a different model as outlined above. And they're color-coded. So based on the research, and this is something that was put out by William and Mary, or at least they published it, we can look and see that really the highest impact professional learning model for that particular piece is development or improvement processes or study groups. So I can look up and see, okay, that's what that model looks like. Another really effective model is training. So I could use training or I could use study groups. What's not going to work particularly well? Observation and assessment. That's not a particularly functional or useful. That's low impact here. So that's how you would use this workflow. And then the final piece of that is you've determined now what your outcomes are, a little backward design piece. You've determined the most effective model. Now let's look at some strategies that we can use inside of that model. And so the latter half of this, the part that we're going to collectively build upon in our session 4, is strategies. And these are professional learning and instructional strategies. That's column B here. Okay. An explanation of each of those strategies. And then if we were to do this synchronously or asynchronously, what tools might we use and what would that look like? Oftentimes we do the reverse of this. We often will come up with activities people can do or strategies that we will use, but we don't necessarily pair that with a really good professional learning model. And so this workflow helps you work from the most important down to the, critical, right? You really want to have high quality strategies, but critical, but not the first decision you make. What are we going to do? And so that's what this Models of Professional Learning workflow tool is intended to do for you as you plan your next professional learning activities or outings for your staff.